I don't have to apologize for who I am because I know who I am. If you know who you are, nobody can touch you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're here with Sabrina Chap. Sabrina is an amazing, talented artist. I had the pleasure of meeting her in Edinburgh, Scotland, at the Edinburgh Festival. I see this, little woman come in with like a keyboard strapped to her back, and like you're setting up and you're making your own flyers and you're wrangling people into your show, and I'm just like, that is New York. And that is talent. So Sabrina, tell us about you. Let's kind of go through.
Sure.
Where you're from.
So I was born in the suburbs of Chicago. I'm the last of 3 kids. My mom's from Ecuador and my dad's from Bulgaria. My brother, who's the oldest, he was born with brain damage. And so it was him and then my sister and then me. And then, my first memory was seeing a piano when it was actually an organ. My sister was taking organ lessons and I just saw it and I was like, I want that.
So you have a brother with disabilities.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up with a sibling with disability?
It was a real defining thing in my life because both with my parents, my brother, and then myself even being gay, you grow up just being a step aside from everyone else.
Sure.
Yeah.
So marginalized in many different ways.
Yeah.
You fall in love, you see the organ.
Yeah.
There's something about this instrument. Tell me about that. And growing. Now you say you didn't know until 30, but did you play young or 30s when you started?
Oh, no.
Okay.
So I started piano lessons when I was 4, almost 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was very much like what was on the page.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know to break from that at all. And so I actually went to school for music. It wasn't until I was actually separated from my piano my junior year that I started playing guitar. And on guitar, I started writing songs. Finally, I transferred back to the piano and I was like, I can play this. So then I went back to piano and then I was like, realized how I could basically use my talent as like this classical type trained person into performing. Yeah.
So in the suburbs of Chicago, what was it like being lesbian?
Queer,
gay, queer? What was that like?
When I was in 5th grade, I just had this signal like, now I'm supposed to like boys. Like that's what it's supposed to be. It's like misplaced love in some place. You see and you have the urge of love, but you don't know where to place it. You know what I mean?
How much of your energy went into your craft now?
All I cared about, and to this day, except for my son, all I care about is making stuff. That's it. I want to make stuff. In college, when I left for college, I went to this college I hated. And it was in the middle of Illinois. And it was super racist. When I went there, people were saying to me, we didn't speak to you because we didn't think you spoke English. To me. There, I sort of broke down all of the things, like, I was trying to be the perfect daughter and the perfect student, all of that stuff. It all fell apart. And so I had an eating disorder, I went through, a lot of mental health issues, and I really broke down there. And it was interesting because a lot of people saw my breakdown and were like, she needs help. But the thing is, if you have a constructed identity that doesn't suit you, you gotta break down to start something new. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what did the breaking down for me truly was writing my own scripts, writing my own songs, discovering what my voice felt like, discovering writing, what does that sound like? Each word built me up and would break something down. So people that knew me were terrified.
I like that.
And then there was that slow build, and that's where I discovered both my voice, but more importantly, my strength. Because the good thing about going to that college was I looked at everyone at that and I was like, I don't like any of you.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap what you think about me. Fine, you guys all think I'm crazy. Fine.
Yeah.
I'll be crazy in front of all of you. I don't have to apologize for who I am because I know who I am. I know, and that's probably the best gift. Once you have to grapple with yourself and once you have to really know who you are, nobody can touch you.
Finding that passion, finding what you're interested in. And sometimes that doesn't happen for people until they're 50. It doesn't matter when, but seeking what it is that excites you. And whatever that is, find that direction, how to get towards that, right? Because there's a blueprint and there's people like Sabrina and the guests I'm bringing on. Forget about what's been taught or what you're expected to be. It's finding what you are.
Yeah.
Right?
If you know who you are, nobody can touch you. Within all of this, there is a blade of grass that is just growing like this. And that's its purpose in life. And that's it. It doesn't try, it doesn't strive, it's just growing. It's not trying to make money, it's not trying to provide Instagram. For me, the fact that we forget that we're part of nature and it's wild and we just have to breathe and exist, that's enough, is something that's really liberating to me. You don't need to write a novel. You need to live a good life.
So for any parents out there, what you're doing is incredibly important.
Yeah.
More important than the President of the United States. You're raising a life.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah. Well, more importantly, like I'm in love and, experience, and I'm showing love and I'm showing care. And that is something often relegated to women, which women's work is supposed to be invisible and thankless. And, we're supposed to be taking care of kids while guys go to work, which I know that that's changed now. But how many people during the pandemic that were parents got fired or had to leave? All the women that were taking care of the kids, you know what I mean? So it's this thing where it's not about like, oh, he's my greatest success. Like, I'm my own greatest success. Still, he's him. My love for him is part of my life that I choose. And it's creative. I think about, Lauryn Hill. I was just singing today, Zion, her song. It's weird. It's interesting to me that even when people talk about parents, they're like, oh yeah, your greatest accomplishment is your son. No, it's not. I'm my greatest accomplishment. Still I am. Because I love who I am, and this is how I choose to love. You know what I mean? He's not my trophy.
Right.
He's his own trophy.
He's his own trophy.
He's his, I'm mine. That's it. It's this thing, and especially like, it's something that I think, it's like Mother's Day. Everyone's like, oh, happy Mother's Day. What, you're giving me this day of recognition, and in a whole year of, not having elevators to the subway and not having access to public institutions that don't have ramps. All of this stuff, people are like, oh, to women, oh, this is your greatest gift that you had a kid. That makes you feel better about not providing in a society for caretakers and mothers. That's BS. You know what I mean? So like, it's interesting to me because I see it sort of as a more nuanced thing that people will say often to parents like, oh, that's your great, and he is, I love him. But it's my love for him that makes me. Tell me about when you now fully start pursuing music. I put out this performance, this play, my senior year, and I had my the president of the college go to it, and he said to me, oh my God, that was amazing. For about an hour, he just went off on how brilliant I was or something. And he was like, what are you gonna do next? And I said, I am going to go and work at Borders, and I'm gonna get a boyfriend. Okay, I need to figure out some sort of love thing. At that point, I hadn't really dated anyone still. And I need to just figure out who I am when I'm not making. And when I was in Chicago, I started writing and performing folk music at this one club, which was formative. And then I took a chance and I moved to Paris for a year. And I was a spoken word artist in Europe for about a year, performing. And then after that, I came back to the States. My mom got cancer, and like a friend killed herself. And then just a bunch of bad stuff happened at the same time. And so I stayed home to try and help take care of my mom, but that really depressed me. So after she got better, I moved to New York just to stop crying. So I was still doing spoken word, and I did this one festival where I decided to interview everyone in the festival because I thought it was so important and incredible. And that turned into different independent presses were interested in turning it into a book. And then I got a book deal off that. And at this point I was almost 30, and I was like, I really want to do my music. But then I had a publisher asking me, if you have an idea for a book. They're like, we like the way you think. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so ready to do my music, but who has a publisher emailing them for book ideas? So I dashed two off really quickly, and they liked one of them. I worked on that for a while. I signed with a different publisher, and then I put out a book. And that book was called Live Through This on Creativity and Self-Destruction. And it was all about, initially, like women artists that have used art to deal with self-destructive tendencies. So it's funny because our self-destruction is a lot of times in cahoots with our place in society, with society asking us to stay like that. And then it's a shame spiral, and then we keep ourselves there. And then I saw how my zines that I'd sold in Europe for like €1 turned into a book that you could buy in Barnes & Noble. And I was like, it'd be really interesting if I did that with something I actually cared about, because I never wanted to be an author. So that's when at 30, I was like, I gotta try this music thing.
You come in doing one thing, you pivot to another, so now you find music.
So I find music.
This is truly your passion.
Yeah, this is it. I go back to it. I'm like, you know what, I have enough songs for an album. Let me put out an album. And I had one song on that album that I thought burlesque dancers should dance to. And Never Been a Bad Girl, that song, right?
I love that song.
I gave it to a few burlesque dancers and I was like, I think you should dance to this, and didn't hear back. So then I wanted to tour because I heard that was what musicians did. And I was like, I'm just gonna go on stage myself and I'm gonna wear bra and panties and some red lipstick and sing a song. And it ended up working out great for me. So people were interested to have like an act that would break up their burlesque.
Okay.
And instead of going to a bar in a new city, not having any payment, trying to get random people into the seats and having to do an hour to 2 people, I would go to a burlesque show. I would have a place to stay because the producers would hook you up with that. I would sing 2 songs to a packed venue.
Nice.
And they would be like, we're paying you this, because there was a door to it that everyone was happy to pay because everyone else was getting naked.
Did you think of all these yourself? Was this your idea? Because right away the theater producer in me is thinking, generally we have to do a play and get audiences in, or doing a YouTube channel or a podcast. Did you think like, let me just attach myself to a show with a following and just do the breaks?
Yeah.
You thought of that?
Yeah,
plan.
I mean I was like, I can't.
Innovative,
I'm like, I can't tour by myself in different cities doing this type of thing.
Right.
And again, that goes to knowing yourself though. If you know yourself as you step on stage, no one can touch you.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about live performance, is you have to, it's a moment, it's a single moment in time, right? And so you have to include everyone. You have to get it all focused into this little point. And if they're acting like that informs what you're saying. That informs how you respond. You know what I mean? And as a performer, you have to respond to the moment. And so then it becomes a conversation and you include them. I love dealing with hecklers.
Yeah, it's in you. It's natural.
Yeah.
So you're touring, you're having a good time?
That actually switches me into the circus. So then I start performing and composing for this circus, the Bindlestiff Family Circus. So next thing you know, I'm dealing with jugglers and contortionists, and I'm playing behind them, and then also doing burlesque stuff. But then I start getting known as like the person that writes variety tunes and things like that. And sort of the pandemic hit, and it was like, whoa. And then everyone sort of stopped and sort of tried to figure out where they were at. But I'm still in that sort of vein, but it is like trying to figure out, how can I sustainably do this stuff?
You having this amazing story, doing all this, pandemic hits, you become a mother. You're now living in New York. You're a mother. You're still your mind. I know you're constantly creating.
Yeah.
You probably lay at home and it's just boom, boom. You're not watching Netflix, just sitting there.
Sometimes I do. Yeah.
Are you creating while watching Netflix, or are you tuned into what you're watching?
No, sometimes
I hope you're tuned in, because when my stuff comes on Netflix, I want to know you're watching.
Oh, if your stuff's on there, I'm watching for sure. You know, I'll be there for sure. No, I can like go on a Netflix binge like anyone else.
Okay.
But I don't make myself feel too bad about it. Sometimes you need to tune out. I have so many desires. I want to do like this, because I have my creative stuff, and then I have like activism stuff as well. Yeah. It's just constantly trying to let different parts of myself evolve and sort of fly off, so I can be new every day. So I have this history of trying to create movements against stuff that, and in protest for things I believe in, which it hasn't changed. It is just more. And I think that's the one thing that I've realized in terms of, having a son now, is I am myself, but I am more of myself. You let your failures lead you, you let your hardships lead you, and you know that whatever direction you're doing, it is your voice. Who you are becoming is your destiny. And it's all really beautiful if you just sort of follow that. Yeah.
I love that. Heterosexual, white male, U.S. veteran, queer female, we came together and we learned from each other. You never know in life who's going to be the person that you could be inspired by, whether you think alike politically or anything. Sometimes you got to set that aside and say, how incredible is this person's visions and what can I learn, and vice versa. Find each other out there. Don't be afraid of being opposites. Don't focus on the things that you don't agree with. Yeah, sure, there's some things that you may, we got religion, politics, sex, things that are, polarizing, but focus on the humanity of each other sometimes. Learn from each other. Build your village. You never know who your village is until you build it. Sabrina, thank you for coming. It's a pleasure. I love you. Thank you for watching, guys.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.